world where family dynamics often resemble a high-stakes game of chess, one mother found herself caught in a battle for her daughter's spotlight. Megan, a dedicated marketing professional and loving mother, had spent months planning the perfect graduation celebration for her daughter, Sophie. As the day approached, excitement filled the air, but so did an unexpected tension that threatened to overshadow their moment of joy. Just as Megan was about to finalize the details of Sophie's special day, a phone call from her mother-in-law, Barbara, shattered her plans. With a voice dripping in sweetness, Barbara announced her own extravagant celebration for Sophie's graduation, scheduled for the very same day. It was a move that felt all too familiar, a calculated play to steal the thunder from her daughter-in-law and granddaughter. As Megan grappled with the reality of her mother-in-law's manipulative tendencies, she realized that this was more than just a party. It was a test of wills, a chance to reclaim the narrative and ensure that Sophie's achievements were celebrated without interference. With the clock ticking and emotions running high, Megan knew she had to act fast. Little did she know, this would lead to a showdown that would change their family dynamics forever. Join Megan on a journey filled with laughter, tension, and unexpected twists as she navigates the complexities of family loyalty, the importance of celebrating milestones, and the lengths a mother will go to protect her child's moment in the sun. Would she rise to the occasion and create a day Sophie would never forget? Or would Barbara's shadow loom large over their celebration? The stage was set and the battle for the spotlight was about to begin. Megan sat at the kitchen table, her fingers nervously tapping against the wood as she glanced at the calendar. It was just a week until her daughter Sophie's graduation, a milestone that Megan had been eagerly anticipating for months. At 35, Megan had worked hard in her marketing career, but nothing compared to the pride she felt for her daughter, who was about to step into adulthood. Sophie, at 18, was bright, ambitious, and ready to take on the world. They had planned a small, intimate celebration with close friends and family, a day filled with laughter, love, and memories. But as Megan was lost in her thoughts, her phone buzzed, jolting her back to reality. The name flashing on the screen made her stomach drop. Barbara, her mother-in-law. Megan had spent years trying to navigate the tricky waters of her relationship with Barbara, a woman who seemed to thrive on drama and attention. With a deep breath, she answered the call, bracing herself for the inevitable. "Hello, Megan, darling." Barbara's voice dripped with a saccharine sweetness that always set Megan's teeth on edge. "I have the most fabulous news. I'm throwing a grand celebration for Sophie's graduation next Saturday. It's going to be the event of the season." Megan's heart sank. "That's wonderful, Barbara, but we've already planned a small gathering for that day. You remember, right? We talked about it at dinner last month." "Oh, sweetheart, surely a little gathering can be moved. This is going to be a spectacular event. I've booked the country club, and we'll have a live band, a champagne fountain, and over 100 guests," Barbara continued, her excitement palpable. Megan felt her grip tighten on the phone. "Barbara, that's Livia's day. We've already sent out invitations to her friends. We can't just change it." Now, dear, don't be unreasonable. David will want to be at his mother's celebration. You wouldn't want to put him in an awkward position, would you?" Barbara's tone was condescending, as if she were speaking to a child. Megan's frustration bubbled to the surface. "This isn't just about David. It's about Sophie. She deserves her moment without being overshadowed by your plans." Barbara's silence was deafening, and Megan could almost hear the gears turning in her mother-in-law's mind. "Well, I suppose if you insist on keeping your little gathering, David will just have to miss his mother's big day," she said, her voice dripping with faux sympathy. Megan hung up, trembling with anger. She had tried to be the perfect daughter-in-law, but Barbara's manipulative ways were becoming unbearable. That evening, after Sophie had gone to bed, Megan confronted David about the situation. He was sprawled on the couch, half watching a basketball game, oblivious to the storm brewing in their lives. David, your mother scheduled her party on Sophie's graduation day, Megan said, sitting down beside him, her voice steady but firm. Mom's always thrown big parties. You know how she is. David replied, barely looking up from his phone. That's not the point. She knew about Sophie's party. I told her weeks ago. Megan's voice rose, frustration spilling over. Come on, Megan, you're overreacting. Mom just likes things her way, he said, running a hand through his hair, looking exasperated. What about Sophie's way? What about my way? Megan felt a surge of determination. This is our daughter's moment, and I won't let your mother take it away from her. David sighed, clearly not wanting to engage in this argument. Can we not do this right now? The game's on, and I've had a long day. Megan stood up, feeling a mix of anger and disappointment. She had spent 7 years accommodating Barbara's demands, and now it felt like enough was enough. As she walked upstairs to check on Sophie, a plan began to form in her mind. If Barbara wanted to make this graduation memorable, Megan would ensure it was unforgettable. Just not in the way Barbara intended. The next morning, Megan met her best friend Rachel for coffee at their favorite cafe. As they settled into their seats, Megan couldn't hold back her frustration any longer. You won't believe what Barbara did, she said, her voice low but intense. She's planning a huge graduation party for Sophie on the same day we already set. Rachel raised an eyebrow, her expression shifting from curiosity to concern. What? That's outrageous. You've been planning this for months. I know. And when I tried to explain that it was Sophie's day, she just brushed me off. It's like she doesn't care about what we want, Megan replied, her hands clenched around her coffee cup. Rachel leaned in, her eyes sparkling with mischief. You know what? Maybe it's time to teach her a lesson. She can't just hijack your daughter's moment like that. Megan felt a flicker of hope. What do you mean? Let's make Sophie's party so amazing that it overshadows whatever Barbara has planned. We can turn it into a celebration that everyone will remember, Rachel suggested, her enthusiasm infectious. Megan's mind raced with possibilities. You're right. We can do something really special. I want it to be a day Sophie will cherish forever. They spent the next hour brainstorming ideas, and soon a plan began to take shape. They would transform their backyard into a magical wonderland, complete with fairy lights, colorful decorations, and a BBQ feast. Rachel even suggested hiring a local band to play some of Sophie's favorite songs. As they finalized the details, Megan felt a surge of excitement. This was going to be a party to remember, and she was determined to make it happen. But she knew they needed to be strategic about it. We should also find a way to distract from Barbara's party, Megan said, her mind racing. Maybe we can create some buzz around it. Rachel nodded, her eyes gleaming with ideas. What if we start some rumors about Barbara's party? Something that will get people talking and make them curious about what's happening at Sophie's celebration instead. Megan grinned, feeling a sense of empowerment. That's brilliant. Let's do it. Later that evening, Megan sat down with David again, this time with a more determined approach. I've been thinking about how we can handle the situation with your mom, she began, trying to keep her tone calm. David looked up from his phone, his expression wary. What do you mean? I want to make sure Sophie has the best graduation day possible, so I've decided to throw a big party for her, and I need your support, Megan explained. David frowned. But what about my mom? She's going to be upset if we don't go to her party. Megan felt her frustration bubbling again. David, your mom is the one who scheduled her party on the same day as Sophie's. She's the one being inconsiderate here. We can't just let her overshadow our daughter's moment. David sighed, running a hand through his hair. I get that, but you know how she is. She'll make a scene if she feels slighted. Maybe it's time she learns that she can't always be the center of attention, Megan replied, her voice firm. I'm tired of accommodating her demands at the expense of our family's happiness. David looked conflicted, torn between his loyalty to his mother and his desire to support his wife. "I just don't want to create more tension between you two." Megan softened her tone. "I understand, but this is about Sophie. She deserves to celebrate her achievements without feeling overshadowed. I need you to stand by me on this." After a long pause, David finally nodded. "Okay, I'll support you, but we need to be careful about how we handle it." Megan felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Thank you. Together we can make this a day Sophie will never forget." The following day, Megan and Rachel met again, this time at Megan's house, armed with a notebook and a list of ideas. They spread out the decorations Rachel had brought over, including colorful streamers, fairy lights, and a few DIY craft supplies. The atmosphere was buzzing with excitement as they began to plan the perfect graduation party for Sophie. "Okay, let's make this party Pinterest-worthy," Rachel said, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "We can create a beautiful backdrop for photos, set up a fun games area, and have a delicious BBQ spread. What do you think?" Megan nodded eagerly. "Yes, and we should definitely have a cake that reflects Sophie's personality. Maybe something with a graduation theme like a cap and diploma?" "Absolutely, and we can add some fun touches, like a photo booth with props," Rachel suggested, jotting down notes. "But we also need to make sure we draw attention away from Barbara's party. We need to create some buzz." Megan leaned in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "What if we start some rumors about Barbara's party? Something that will get people talking and make them curious about what's happening at Sophie's celebration instead." Rachel's eyes lit up. "That's genius! We could say that Barbara is planning a surprise announcement at her party, something big that everyone will want to know about. It'll create a buzz and draw attention away from our party." Megan grinned, feeling a rush of excitement. "Let's do it! We can plant the seed with a few friends and let the gossip spread. It'll be perfect." They spent the next hour crafting a plan to spread the rumors. They decided to casually mention the big announcement to a few mutual friends who were likely to share the information. Megan felt a thrill of anticipation as they plotted their strategy. As they wrapped up their planning session, Rachel looked at Megan with a knowing smile. "You know, this is going to be epic. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire." Megan nodded, feeling empowered. "Exactly. Barbara has always tried to overshadow our family's moments, but this time, it's going to be different. We're going to make sure Sophie's graduation is unforgettable." The day of Sophie's graduation arrived, and the sun shone brightly in the sky, casting a warm glow over the backyard. Megan and Rachel had transformed the space into a magical wonderland, complete with twinkling fairy lights, colorful decorations, and a beautifully arranged BBC spread. The atmosphere was filled with laughter and excitement as friends and family began to arrive. Sophie, dressed in her graduation gown, looked radiant as she greeted her friends. "Mom, this is amazing. I can't believe you did all this," she exclaimed, her eyes wide with joy. Megan beamed with pride. "You deserve it, sweetheart. Today is all about celebrating you." As the guests mingled and enjoyed the festivities, Megan's phone buzzed with updates from friends who were at Barbara's party. The news was not good. "Rachel, you won't believe this," Megan said, her voice barely containing her laughter. "Barbara's party is a disaster. Apparently no one is showing up, and the rumors about her big announcement are spreading like wildfire." Rachel grinned, clearly enjoying the chaos. "This is perfect. Everyone is talking about your party instead. It's exactly what we wanted." As the afternoon progressed, Sophie's friends participated in games, took photos at the DIY photo booth, and enjoyed the delicious food. The highlight of the day came when a local band arrived to play some of Sophie's favorite songs. The energy was electric, and everyone was having a fantastic time. Meanwhile, at Barbara's party, things were not going as planned. Guests were whispering about the rumors, and Barbara was growing increasingly agitated. "What announcement? I don't have any announcement," she exclaimed, her voice rising in frustration as she tried to regain control of the situation. Back at Megan's party, the atmosphere was filled with joy and laughter. Sophie stood in front of her friends, beaming with happiness as they sang her praises. "This is the best day ever," she shouted, her excitement infectious. As the sun began to set, Megan looked around at the smiling faces of her family and friends, feeling a sense of fulfillment. This was what it meant to celebrate life's milestones, together, without overshadowing one another. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the backyard, Megan felt a wave of satisfaction wash over her. The laughter of Sophie and her friends filled the air, and the atmosphere was nothing short of magical, but in the back of her mind, she couldn't help but wonder how Barbara was handling the chaos at her own party. Later that evening, as the last of the guests began to leave, Megan received a flurry of messages from friends who had attended Barbara's event. "You won't believe what just happened," one text read. "Barbara is freaking out. She thought she was going to make a big announcement, but no one is paying attention to her." Megan shared the updates with Rachel, who couldn't contain her laughter. "This is too good. It's like a reality show unfolding right before our eyes." As they cleaned up the remnants of the party, Megan felt a mix of triumph and concern. She didn't want to revel in Barbara's misfortune, but she couldn't ignore the fact that her mother-in-law had brought this upon herself. "I just hope she doesn't take this too hard," Megan said, her tone softening. Rachel nodded, her expression turning serious. "It's important to remember that while you wanted to celebrate Sophie, Barbara's feelings are still valid. Maybe this could be a turning point for her." Megan sighed, contemplating Rachel's words. "You're right. I just wish she could understand that family moments should be about togetherness, not competition." The next day, Megan received a call from David. "Hey, can we talk?" he asked, his voice sounding strained. "Of course." "What's going on?" Megan replied, her heart racing. "Mom is really upset. She feels humiliated about the party, and she's convinced someone sabotaged her," David explained, his tone heavy with concern. Megan felt a pang of guilt. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just wanted to make sure Sophie had her moment." "I know, but she's taking it really hard. I think we need to have a family conversation," David suggested. Megan agreed, knowing that it was time to address the situation head-on. "Okay, let's invite her over for dinner. We can talk it out." That evening, Barbara arrived at their home, her demeanor tense and defensive. Megan could see the hurt in her eyes, and she felt a wave of empathy wash over her. "Thank you for having me," Barbara said, her voice tight. "Of course, Barbara. We wanted to talk about everything that happened," David said, trying to ease the tension. Megan took a deep breath, ready to speak her truth. "I know you were excited about your party, but it felt like you were trying to overshadow Sophie's graduation. We wanted to celebrate her achievements without feeling like we were competing for attention." Barbara's expression softened slightly. "I didn't mean to overshadow anyone. I just wanted to celebrate my granddaughter's success in my own way." "I understand that, but it's important for us to create moments together as a family," Megan replied gently. "We can celebrate Sophie's achievements without it becoming a competition." David chimed in, "Mom, we love you, but we also need to set boundaries. It's not fair to put pressure on everyone to attend your events when we have our own family milestones to celebrate." Barbara looked down, her shoulders slumping. "I guess I've always felt like I needed to be the center of attention. It's just how I've always done things." Megan reached out, placing a hand on Barbara's arm. "We want you to be part of our celebrations, but it has to be about all of us, not just one person. We can create beautiful memories together." After a long pause, Barbara finally nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I'm sorry. I didn't realize how my actions affected you all. I'll try to do better." Megan felt a sense of relief wash over her. "Thank you, Barbara. That means a lot to us." As they sat down for dinner, the atmosphere shifted. They shared stories, laughter, and a newfound understanding. Megan realized that sometimes the best way to deal with difficult family dynamics was to communicate openly and honestly. In the days that followed, Barbara made an effort to be more supportive and less controlling. She attended family events with a renewed sense of respect for everyone's contributions. Megan felt grateful for the change, knowing that they were all learning to navigate their relationships with more love and understanding. As for Sophie, she cherished her graduation day, surrounded by family and friends who celebrated her achievements. Megan knew that they had created a beautiful memory that would last a lifetime, and that was what truly mattered.